thunderstorm. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Have you taken the Desco Challenge? The people have spoken. Desco is where the professional goes for electrical supplies.
Hi, my name is Randy. I'm a general contractor, and I always trust the products at Desco.
See for yourself at DescoInc.com.
Don't miss the boat. Don't miss the boat, baby. Shop LKN Local for the best lake apparel, home decor, and gift ideas. Locally loved, made, and delivered right to your door. For the love of the lake, shop LKN-local.com today.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
I want to see the kind of industries that are opening up.
This is Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone, where your business matters. Local Biz Now.
You have to determine what is working, what isn't working.
Joe Vagnone is a respected business broker, helping individuals buy and sell businesses. Joe has successfully owned and operated many companies in a variety of industries. This is Local Biz Now. Biz Now, because your business matters.
You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina, coming to you from Burner Cigar Studio, because the Burner Cigar Studio is wherever I am. Let me be clear. Burner Cigars is an exceptional place for fine premium cigars and great people. Just an excellent place to get your smokes. Great people, premium cigars. Life is good at Burner's Cigars, located in Birkdale Village and in Denver on Highway 16. We hope to inspire, inform, and entertain you, because that's what we do here at News Talk WSIC 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. I am Joe Vagnone. This is Local Biz Now, where your business matters. Now, just in case you want to question, let me be clear why this is the #1 live business show in North Carolina. Let me give it to you. We've been doing this show going on 12 years strong. We have over 950 small business owners and community leaders that we have interviewed. Let me say that again, 950 community leaders and small business owners. We have 748 videos on our Joe Vagnone YouTube channel. Please go there and check it out. Joe Vagnone YouTube channel. There are over 748 interviews and videos on the channel. It's just an exceptional place for you to get a lot of information. We encourage you to do that. We are live on the book, live on the tubes, live on the X, live on the chain, and that means, if you don't know, Joe Talk, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on X, and live on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to take your questions. We do that because the one and only Julie is monitoring and taking a look at Facebook. So if you want to ask a question, we'll try and get that question on the air, because everybody needs a Julie. And we thank you for listening all of these years, and sit back, relax, and we hope you will enjoy the show. Now, every month we have a new co-host. This month is no exception. And this month is my dear friend, whether he will admit it or not, you understand, Danny Decker. Danny Decker is the founder of Spotlight Marketing and Branding, co-founder of MyMarketeer.com. Danny, my friend, thank you for being here, buddy.
Yeah, Joe, it's always good to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week.
So, Danny, we met years ago, and you've now officially written 2 books on marketing. You are my go-to guy when it comes to marketing. What is it that, because there is something, you get it, that makes you different than other marketing people. It's as if you can connect to me, the old school guy, right? And yet you have this relationship and understanding of what the future looks like. Well, walk me through what is kind of different about what it is you do.
Yeah, no, I think, I sort of came of age in the marketing industry, and I was lucky that I found some mentors that were, I would say, a little more old school. A guy named Dan Kennedy, who's a direct response legend, Gary Halpert, some others. And so I really learned strategy first and technology second. And I think where a lot of marketing agencies and marketing folks today, they think about tools first and strategy second, if that makes sense, Joe. It's like, oh, cool, look at TikTok and look at YouTube, and it's all of these new fun tools.
And everybody else is doing that, so I should too.
Yeah, and my thing is like, listen, a hammer is a great tool if you've got a nail.
Right.
It's not the right tool if you're trying to drive a screw into the wall, right? So like so tools have a place, but the strategy has to come first, and that's always been my philosophy. And I think I'm just fortunate that I found some good influences early on who kind of drilled that into my head.
Right.
And I haven't changed.
Which is probably why you and I just connected, right? Because you can talk Joe talk, right? But you also can push Joe's mind towards the modern day and what we need to do, what we have to do. Because some of it seems intangible, right? The where you're going to go when you want a Sloppy Joe flyer. That is a tangible marketing concept that I get, right?
Yeah.
Then when I talk to you, all of a sudden, it's on the tubes, it's on the X, it's on the book. That is this intangible thing that is happening. And so the difference between the two means there's a different way to communicate and a different strategy to reach ultimately the one person we need, the buyer profile we're looking for.
Yeah, but what's awesome about that, and I've talked about this before, is like, to me, there's really just three factors for any marketing campaign. It's your market. Who's your ideal? You use, I think, buyer persona is how you refer to it. It's like, you got to know who your buyer is. You got to have a message. Right. And the message might be, if you're hungry, here's a Sloppy Joe.
Right.
And then you got some channel to deliver the message. And that can be printing a flyer and sliding it under a door, or that can be a Facebook ad, or that can be a TikTok. But like, at the end of the day,
the email is the flyer nowadays.
And that's just it. And that's it. But guess what? In your example, the buyer didn't change. The message didn't change. Actually, all that changed is the technology you're using to deliver the message.
Right.
And so I think it's really helpful to think about it in that way. If you get those three things right, what's your market? What's your message? What media channel you're going to use? You're going to be successful every single time.
Right. And that's probably one thing we don't know. Who's watching Facebook? Who's watching LinkedIn? Who's watching YouTube? That's probably what's new to us. And so for us, us meaning small business people, we thought all of those electronic type of marketing was outside our area of success until we reached a certain level, right? That's just not true anymore.
Yeah, it's the percentage of Americans that are on social media channels is probably close to 80-90%, right? Like every you can find just about everybody on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn. I will tell you,
that's
Joe,
a remarkable statement.
Yeah, and I'll at the break, I'll look up the exact stat. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but it's high is the point. I think we all kind of sense that. But I'll also tell you,
we're going to hold you to that at the break.
Yeah.
Superstar, you make sure that Danny does that on the break. Okay.
Deal. But Joe, I was gonna make the point too. We're also seeing this like resurgence in old school marketing. Like direct mail marketing works better today than it did 10 years ago because all the advertisers have stopped mailing, right? Because everybody's moved so far to digital that you can get a better ROI on a direct mail piece today than you probably could have 10 years ago. So there is actually some opportunity in the old school. I also think people love to come to face-to-face events. People love to come out to events, seminars, workshops in person because I think we're in this world where Zoom, everybody's got Zoom fatigue. Like, you're just staring at a computer all day. So I actually think we're in a little bit of a full circle moment where we're coming back to some of the offline stuff too.
Let's take a break. When we come back, you and I are going to talk about my biggest mistake I've made in over 5 years. You were part of it. I might even hold you responsible for some of it. You're listening to Local Biz Now. Hang on, because we're going to tell you what not to do when we come back. This is where your business matters. We'll be right back.
See what the Terminator says. What percentage of Americans have a social media platform? %83%.
83%.
Yep.
That's a remarkable statement.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Superstar, I did not see you put my YouTube channel on the book for viewing purposes, did you? No. Did you? I didn't see it. Shouldn't I see it on my Facebook? I don't want to just see it in front of me. I want to see it. Oh, there it is. Okay. There you go. Let's be clear now. I mean, I always got to stay on top of him. Okay. Gotcha. So we come back. I want to talk about Joe's big mistake because Julie said I have not clearly described it in detail. So I'm going to get into a lot of detail. Please add whatever your thoughts were about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm pretty sure Julie just wants me to do this so she can remind me that I made a mistake, right?
She just wants some video evidence. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, sounds good.
And then after this segment, when we come back, we're going to dig back into the marketing and the whole.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
How much time we got, Superstar? 1 minute. They hate me in this studio.
Why is that?
Because what's the word they used? Spoiled. I think that's the word they used. Because you know, at the old studio for years, you know, they did whatever I asked, and of course, I'd never been on the radio before, so as long as they kept doing it, I kept asking for it, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I bet you're the only host that brings food for them every time, though. I remember that going all the way back to the Statesville days. You'd always show up with some fast food in the morning.
That's right. All right, Superstar, let's do it.
Bring Dad in for Father's Day. Walk-ins welcome. Reservations encouraged. Visit palomacocktails.com.
Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Yeah. This is the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. I promise you, it is because we inspire, inform, and entertain you. We've been doing it for over 12 years. We have 950 owners, community leaders that have been interviewed. We have over 748 videos on my exceptional, sexy YouTube channel. Go to Joe Vagnone on YouTube. Matter of fact, the Superstar was worth anything, even a nickel. He'd have that scrolling right now on the Facebook for people to see. If he was any good, that is, by the way. We are live in the book, live on the tubes, live on the X, live on the chain. If you don't know Joe Talk, that is Facebook, YouTube, X, and on LinkedIn as well. So please tune in. Julie is on Facebook monitoring this. So if you got a question, please feel free to drop it in. I'll be more than happy to do that. Okay. Superstar's got the scrolling happening.
All right,
now. All right,
that.
Superstar. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, so here, most of you that listen to the show know that I made a mistake a while ago, and I got involved in a operation. It's called Fulfilled by Amazon. It's called FBA. It's a very common way to participate in online retailing. But Julie is saying, Danny, that I have not completely explained my massive failure, right? I think part of it is she enjoys me describing my massive failure. Because, Danny, you know me. I am the finest small businessman on the planet. There is nobody that walks the walls of Cornelius that doesn't think Joe Vagnone is the small business man. You understand that?
Valid.
In fact, our tagline here at joevagnone.com is absolute. Well, our first tagline is, if Joe and Julie can't sell it, nobody wants it. That's our first tagline. But the main one is, Joe is the real deal for small business. Yeah. So I'm the man. Can we just acknowledge that before we go any further?
Absolutely. I think your track record speaks for itself.
That's right. And I love telling people, and it's on my website, I have bought and sold, owned and operated more small businesses than anybody you're going to meet. Now, that's such a fun statement. I like saying that. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have, but I'm going to make you prove it, right? You know what I mean? And just so you know, that number's 392 last time Julie and I counted.
All right.
It's a lot, right? So I say all that, right, to beat my chest. Joe's the man. And yet still, we all can make legitimate mistakes. So I'm going to talk about this mistake, and I'm doing it in front of you, Danny. Number one, because I think it's your fault, Dan. I got to blame somebody. Okay?
I was waiting for that.
But you were part of it, right? Like I pulled you in because I thought so much of you and the deal that I wanted to be involved in.
It seemed on its face like a really great opportunity. So I get it.
So let's describe the deal, right? So here's what happened. I had two gentlemen that contacted me through LinkedIn, and they said, "Hey, Joe, we believe you to be one of the best brokers in North Carolina, Danny." I jumped on that. I had a little Donald Trump in me.
Got my attention right there, right? Yeah.
Hey, guys, you must be really smart to think that. Okay, they got me, right? We started talking. They wanted me to market for them FBA opportunities, fulfill by Amazon opportunities. As a small broker, as a small business broker, they wanted me to help them sell the idea of you using them to manage your Amazon store.
Well, and let's talk about what that is for a second, because that's one of the things that got me interested. And correct me if I'm wrong, but basically it's a very passive business opportunity where you are listing. You technically are a storefront owner on Amazon, because Amazon needs to have independent sellers so that they don't get broken up, right? And so it's the opportunity.
And it's a mastermind that most of the stuff in those 1 million square foot warehouses, it's not Amazon's. Yeah. It's all the small business owners.
So, and that's a very legit opportunity. I
Right.
know plenty of people that run that type of store, and so like there's nothing like on the face that would tell you that that's not a legitimate opportunity. It is.
And in fact, you helped me confirm that, right? That, yeah, Joe, this is legit, right? And so the fulfillment by Amazon means you don't have to bring the stuff into the inventory into your garage, pack it, and then ship it out to somebody. Amazon will do that for you. The Amazon learned, if they want to make sure that the Amazon end user is happy, that Amazon needs to touch it in the process for a more successful client work. And so I did the research on that, and I found that it made sense to me, right? I also did the research and found that there were a lot of people selling these types of, let's call them managing services, right? And some of them, they had these little videos on websites, and I looked at them and I thought, I wouldn't give you a nickel, and they're telling me that they're managing this business, and it made me uncomfortable. But when I talked to my guys, I met them by Zoom, right? We had 3 or 4 conversations. I agreed to be their broker in North Carolina to sell their FBA stores that they have. Now, if you want me to do that on a larger scale, you have to pay me a retainer to do that, right? They asked if I would prefer a store, an Amazon store. This way I would know what it's like, know how it works, see the operation. I'm thinking, Danny, that works. My son's coming out of college. This is a great way to get him started, right? So the only thing I had to pay for was the inventory.
Right.
And I thought, my son's going to learn how to do this, right? It seems to be and I'm already going to be in the business of marketing to find buyers that want to operate these stores. And so I said, sure, guys, give me a store, and also I will start to help you find buyers. So the relationship seemed fine. I checked them out, Danny, as much as I could. You met them.
I met them on Zoom once or twice, and very, very seemed very competent, very by the book. There was nothing about them that raised any red flags.
And so then Julie does what she does, which is a detailed, and I do mean detailed, review and package that we put together. Danny, you helped me put together a whole website, automated system where we could start marketing to people. So the thought was they would market, then we'd drop them into the automation system, and we'd be selling these babies like hotcakes on a Tuesday, right? And so we thought that we were moving in the right direction. And the whole concept was find people that wanted passive income that would buy a store, buy the inventory, and then this management company would actually receive, prepackage, or repackage based on how Amazon wants it, and then send it to an Amazon warehouse. And then when you order something from Amazon, it would just come. You would know what store was actually, that's right. So you would not have to touch the product or service at all. And you would receive a percent. And in fact, what happens is everybody receives a percent and then you get what's left, right? And so the concept is legit. It seemed real. It seemed right. And and when Julie finished her research and put together this detailed package, what we realized these guys were really good at is two things. Amazon will send you a service request for what they're looking for. For example, if Amazon's got to have toilet paper sitting in the warehouse, they need to have somebody that's willing to let the inventory sit there, right? Now, some stuff Amazon buys themselves, but in general, I'm just using toilet paper as an example. Yeah. So what you would do is you would literally go to the Amazon website, you would check and see they're looking for 2 truckloads of toilet paper. And they want it packaged in this direction, right? And if you did that, you could click on that and you could say, I'll supply those for you, right? Seems like a no-brainer, right? And so, because the customer's telling them what they want, all you got to do is provide it. And the secret here is you got to be able to take it in, repackage it so that it fits whatever the size is that Amazon wants. A lot of times it's about storage, it's about shipping, those types of things. So the manufacturer may not put it in the exact way that Amazon wants it. So that's when they let FBA providers do that. So our management company repackages the product and then sends it to Amazon. The only people that can get to that website are people that are selling over a certain amount of sales. That's where these management companies come in, because they're already selling over a certain amount. Sure. So because of that, they get access so they can tell you, here's what we need to buy for you because we know Amazon wants to sell it. So the concept seemed legit. It seemed real, right? Julie had done a detailed amount of research. We figured out how we were going to sell. You even helped me put together the website that we're going to use and dropped it into our automated system. So we really felt good that this was a great opportunity. You even said, Joe, if this works, I'd really like to do this myself. Yeah. I said, well, that's great. My son's going to get really excited about doing this. And so my son decided he's going to do this. He's all excited. Daddy's going to loan him the money for the inventory, right? And my son's going to be in business and he's going to start to learn modern day business, because who better to learn it from the master, right? Of course. The man, the real deal for small business. Well, here's what's happening. The reality is everybody I was dealing with was in Arizona and in Charleston, but the warehouse was in Idaho. And the actual FBA certified person was in Chicago. So there was like this multi-state operation, and some of your inventory might have even been going to a warehouse in Georgia. So when we come back, I'm going to tell you where the problem actually began and what you really need to look for in this process. Because it is legit. I don't want to beat up on, fulfilled by Amazon itself. Right. It's the management company that we're going to talk about and the problems that came with that. You are listening to Local Biz Now. Yeah, okay, this might have been a mistake, but I'm going to help you how to avoid it. This is Local Biz Now, where your business matters. We'll be right back.
It is a crazy story. So were those two guys?
They were great guys.
Okay, so they
the ones we met were not the problem.
Yeah, okay.
They had their own FBA businesses with this dude out of Chicago. And they're tech guys. And they said to the guy in Chicago, dude, why don't you let us find somebody? Let's start marketing these stores. Let's get you more of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy says, oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be fine. And so they legitimately were trying to find a way to sell more. And then they were going to take a piece of the profit
Right.
that the manager was going to have.
So those two guys were on the level. They
were on the level. They what they did was misled you and I that they were the decision maker. They were not. And they misled us that they were managing the warehouse. They were not. They have nothing to do with the warehouse.
Interesting.
So we were not dealing with the actual owners of the management company.
So they were
dealing
just
with customers.
They
were customers of the management company that have every intention of honoring what they said they were going to do, as long as the management company did what they said they were going to do. Surprise, surprise. Here's where the problem runs into. And because it's multi-state, it became a major problem. They even, when all this went to the bad, they even contacted me, tried to work it out, offered to pay to get some kind of resolution.
So they realized they felt terrible. It sounds like.
Oh, they did. They got messed up by the actual management company. So you and I, our instincts were correct, right? We were dealing with two good guys, right? Where we messed up was we should have did more investigation on the warehouse and the actual shipping of the product and the inventory and the inventory control. That is where the scam comes in.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And if you don't know the business, you wouldn't even know where to look.
Of course. Yeah.
Like I only know this because I now know what happened. After, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're going to try and finish describing that tale if we can.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Just crazy.
Okay, Julie, am I describing this well in detail for you? Because I got to be honest with you. It's painful bringing back memories like this, you understand? Julie said, you repeat all that on the show. All right, we'll get into it. Okay. All right. All right, Julie, I'm going to keep the text line open for you if you want to add something, because this is the last time I'm talking about this. I'm going to be done with this after this. Okay.
Very good.
Julie loves my mistake.
You and Julie staying busy, it sounds like? Staying real busy?
This may be the best year I've ever had as a broker. Honestly, and it is probably one of the most difficult to manage the buyer and seller divergence that's happening because everybody's confused. Everybody's unsure. They don't know what the future is like. Thanks. But they're positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a confused and uncertainty and reluctance to do anything. They're positive. They're just trying to figure out where and how.
That makes a lot of sense.
Next week, we can talk about the new buyer and what that new buyer looks like. Because that new buyer wants to give you no money, wants you to do all the work, and and expects for the business to make money. I mean, it's a no money down kind of buyer out there. They're learning that on the internet.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'll be next week.
All right.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. On the planet, at least in Cornelius,
That's high praise. You've been doing this for a minute.
This is Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, where your business matters. And I want to tell you, this is the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. And it's because of my great co-hosts like Danny Decker. Danny, thank you for being here, buddy.
It's great, Joe. Always love being here.
So you are the owner of Spotlight Marketing and Branding and co-founder of mymarketeer.com. Give them just before we get started back on my big mistake, give them a quick rundown on what mymarketeer.com is all about.
So it's mymarketer.com.
Marketer, I'm sorry.
And we provide virtual marketing assistance for small businesses, right? And so, Joe, you work with small business owners all the time. Small business owners got 10 things they got to do every single day before they even eat breakfast. They don't have time for marketing. They don't have time for social media. They don't have time to make videos.
Right.
They don't have time to make TikToks. But that stuff's important. We just talked about at break, like 83% of Americans are on social media. So you gotta have somebody doing your marketing. mymarketer.com, we provide marketing assistance. So we're gonna give you, Joe, some 50 hours a month of a marketing assistant who's gonna get that stuff done for you. Who's gonna get your social media done, gonna get your video editing done, so that you can focus on the things you do the best.
And so I want everybody to hear that before we get back on my big mistake story, because that's why I contacted you, right? I knew you were the right guy because I wanted you to help me sell these stores, right, to other people. And also I wanted your advice. Hey, dude, is this legit? Is this good? I even reached out to a couple of the contacts that I have that sell franchises. They're even creating, they couldn't create a franchise because Amazon wouldn't have let them do that, but they were creating a licensing program and selling them. And my buddy was telling me that not only is it legit, but he was selling like 4 a month of these, right?
I believe it.
So I'm thinking we're on to something, right? And so to pick up where we left off, once I felt like we had a good grasp, Julie had done a detailed job, and we had put together this great marketing package. We've got the website ready to go. I'm going to start trying to sell and market these businesses. And at the same time, you and I put together a video, and it was my intention to continue to interview and talk to my son about how things are going with the store, so I could be this sort of live testimonial of how things are going. I thought you were going to get involved, and then we were going to slowly start to describe all of the things that were happening. So I felt good about where we were. My son's first month in business, he made about $890 profit.
Okay.
The first month.
It's not bad.
I'm thinking, life is good. And then he started texting me, Dad, now keep in mind, he's not doing this. He's just getting through Amazon, he's getting these emails saying product returned, and then he's getting emails from Amazon saying, if you don't fix these things, we're going to drop your store. Right. And so all of a sudden my son's calling me, Dad, I don't know what's going on, but it's like, we sold like $3,000 worth of stuff, and like $2,800 of it is returned.
Oof.
Like I don't understand that. And so I said, son, this is all part of business because I'm Joe. I know all about business, right? Son, you got to contact them. You got to talk to them, find out what's happening. You need to make contact with the people at the warehouse because clearly they're doing something wrong. And so my son, this was way over his head, but at the time we didn't know that, right? So he calls, he tells them, hey guys, listen, this is a problem. If you're going to ship something out, let's make sure, it's right, or what's the problem? Because you understand through the email, Amazon didn't say why it was returned or rejected, right?
Sure. It just says
CJ's trying to find out what's the problem.
Sure.
Well, nobody seems to know at the warehouse. So CJ says, Dad, they don't seem to know. Son, that's not possible. I mean, they got to know. That's when the red flag went up. So then we started asking questions about where is our inventory? What is our inventory? What did you buy for us that you're going to resell that's going to make us $1,000 to $3,000 a month passive income. Because whatever it is you're selling or sending the clients, they're returning. That's when we received no answers. And the contacts that you met, that I knew, we're contacting them. They're great guys. They're trying to find out also. They don't know because they've had a successful business for years with this same management company. And then I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not the management company? No, we work with the management company. We're just going to help him sell more units. And it was at that moment that I realized the warehouse is separate and the management company is separate, owned by different people. And we weren't actually, and Danny, we'd never met any of the people that was actually doing the work.
Yeah.
So that was our first mistake. We didn't follow through on who is actually doing the work, right? Once we realized that the warehouse is probably 80%, then the administrative side is another 25%, which you'll handle by 2 different people. And then we started to do research and realize they have no intention of telling us what product we have or where it is. And that's when you've got a problem. And that's when Joe stepped in, right? You know.
Yeah.
And so I said, guys, I'll tell you what, if you can't answer my question of where my inventory is, just send me back my money. We're done. Okay? Well, from that point on is where everything started to get hostile, right? And the 2 guys that were trying to facilitate this were no longer able to control it because they didn't have the inventory. They didn't know what the inventory was themselves.
So they're probably trying to help you out.
They were making phone calls. They were trying to get this guy and getting nowhere. So this is the point that I want to teach people that are listening, right? And that is, listen, here's the reality. The reality is if you're going to do business in a modern day, especially online, this is a multi-state business that's starting to happen. It is much different than what it used to be, where you could look at a guy in the eye, shake his hand, walk through the warehouse and say, okay, here's my stuff. And so I couldn't go to Chicago. I couldn't go to Georgia. I couldn't go to Iowa and check these places out. So I hired a private investigator. And private investigators have these networks all over the country. So essentially what happens is they become your eyes and ears, right? And they do it in kind of a cool man fashion. I want to use another word, but I'm not going to, right? You're sending Rockford, okay, to go look and find out what's happening for your stuff. And so, and then they're doing that at the same time. And then because keep in mind, I have a legal right to possess my inventory.
Yeah.
Show it to me. Where's it at? So I sent somebody to Georgia, sent somebody to Iowa. Neither one of them knew anything about it. Both locations had been closed down. Both locations had been moved.
Wow.
With no forward address. Both warehouses also had not paid in the last 6 months. So then we started to learn, this is all through the private investigators, that the concept was they go to a warehouse, they work out of the warehouse for 6 to 8 months, they don't pay, they pack everything up and they move it someplace else. And that's really easy for them to do because you understand what they're doing is they're shipping the stuff to Amazon anyways.
Yeah.
So once they get to the low enough inventory, they're good.
Yeah.
Just close this warehouse down. Let's go move to another one. And so they had no occupancy costs. They thought they were brilliant, right? They thought they were smart. Meanwhile, I got a private investigator, and we're tracking it down. We come back. I'm going to tell you how we tracked down the real evil person in all of this through his wife, who was a successful dentist in Chicago.
Wow.
I'll show you the interesting part of this story. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. Every now and then I make a mistake, and we'll fill you in on how that ends. We'll be right back. And now you see why I've never told the story, because I don't know how to get to the end. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it won't end. You know, one mistake after another.
How long did it take to get this thing resolved?
The guy's a crook. And he literally is an arm of the mafia. Mafia is a completely different animal nowadays.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like organized crime.
That's right. It is organized crime. Mafia is probably not the right word. It's organized crime. No longer the Italians. It's just.
Well, it's
organized.
funny. I'm watching the Sopranos. Leah and I are watching the Sopranos right now, and so
Right.
we're seeing back then it was like the stolen merchandise, and I'm like, well, this actually sounds like the 2025 version of
That's right.
Sopranos.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So the reality is this dude, and we found him through his wife, and private investigator knocked on the dentist's door, and let me tell you something, that works.
Wow.
Think about it. If I sent somebody to your wife's work,
yeah,
you'd be like, dude, that can't
got my
happen.
attention. Yeah.
Well, then we're gonna work this out or not.
Yeah.
So I learned that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Private investigator is the number one piece of advice I want people to hear from this story.
I was gonna say I never would have thought about that.
That's right. That is the number one piece of advice. Modern day business. Make sure you investigate, not just online investigation.
Yeah.
The private investigator through their networks can go boots on the ground and see and validate what they're telling you.
So, what did you just go on the internet and just look for a private investigator? Like, how do you even do that?
That's a really good question. So this particular guy was a friend of a client of mine.
Okay, got it.
And there are a lot. Private investigators are very similar to attorneys, where they specialize in different areas. So you got to find one that fits and works, and you got to find one that's involved in the network, right? Because they're not going to pack up and go to Chicago, whatever, but they are going to call somebody to do that. And literally, we had a private investigator on the phone with us while he was standing there talking to the owner of the warehouse, telling us the guy left, didn't pay in eight months, and hey, buddy, if you take a picture of that box, that's the return address. That's what I think they moved to. And sure enough, it was. But having the boots on the ground to do that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the concept is all about the private investigator and the network. They share their own network. It's like it's a website that they all get involved in.
Yeah.
And that concept is what I want people to get. I mean, that's the best way to solve your problem.
Yeah. Never would have thought of that.
All right, so let me try and end this story best I can, as quick as I can. Superstar, you told me. Yeah! You're listening to the number one live talk business show. This is Joe Vagnone and Local Biz Now, where your business matters. I'm here with Danny Decker. He is the master and founder of Spotlight Marketing and Branding, and also co-founder of My Marketeer. Am I saying that right?
My Marketer.
MyMarketer.com. Thank you, Danny, for being here. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so let me try and finish up my story. So we hire a private investigator. Let me be clear. That is why this ended well for me. I hired a private investigator to do research on all of the players involved, because I clearly did not do a good job of that at the beginning. I thought we did, Danny, but we only scratched the surface. And if we would have hired a private investigator, they would have asked 2 more levels of questions that we didn't ask.
Yeah.
Right? And shame on us, we didn't do it. And it's now after the fact, I realize I don't have any inventory, or they're surely not willing to give me any inventory. And we're talking about $20,000. And so what I did was I had my local private investigator work through his network, literally go to one of the warehouses in Iowa that had closed down, literally got in there, spoke to the owner of the warehouse. He was more than happy to tell us how much he hated these people, told us what he thought was a return address, because there was a box laying on the floor there where he thought they moved to. And in fact, it was another warehouse that they had moved to out of state. And in fact, it's through that he that same private investigator then contacted the general manager of that warehouse. Keep in mind, that's a separate company. In other words, they weren't involved in what was happening. They just simply were managing a warehouse in the new facility that they had, right?
Sure.
So each one of these states are getting duped by somebody, right? And so the manager was more than happy to say, look, man, I don't know exactly where he is or what's going on, but I know we buy all the parts and supplies for a dentist office out of Chicago, which is outside of what we normally do for this Fulfilled by Amazon. They hire a private investigator out of the network to go to Chicago. Sure enough, the head dentist is our culprit's wife.
Wow.
So now we've got the culprit, we got the no account, no good for nothing bad guy, right? And we got it because the private investigator knocked on the door and spoke to the dentist, and of course was not loud, but made it clear that there was a problem, a fraudulent situation that needed to be corrected. Of course, she called her husband and said, you need to take care of this immediately. That is the first time we spoke with him or knew who he was.
Wow.
And we required him, we meaning the private investigator, required him to continue to communicate with us. And if not, they were going back to the dentist's office. That is the only leverage we had over him.
Brilliant. You never would have got there without the PI.
That's right. That's right. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, what happened was he still continued to try and scam us and had no intention of ever giving us any money. It was not going to happen. Even my highly skilled negotiations skills that I put to the test, I was going to get him to make me payments on this money, and I promise you I would have never gotten those payments. But that was the end negotiation that I had got to, and it all boiled down to, on a side note, I'd purchased the inventory through a card that I had, and the credit card company supplied me back my money of $20,000 for the inventory. Because, in fact, I never actually received the inventory.
I mean, there's a lesson right there for business owners too, right? Is your credit cards have a lot of benefits, and,
Yes.
and if you're careful and you choose the right types of benefits, you get a lot of protection in scenarios like
That's
this.
correct. That's correct. And I chose to use a specific, I have a black card, American Express card, MasterCard, that's used for travel. And this is specifically what happens where it's multi-state situations. They get involved, and so they dinged his account $20,000, and they gave me back my $20,000, and that is how this was resolved. But I'm okay, right? It ended well. But what I want people to hear is do more research on the front end. Hire a private investigator on the front end to ask the question, who are all the players? Who are they? What's their character like? And believe me, these private investigators know a lot more stuff than we know. They can dig deeper than we can dig.
Yeah.
And you're right, Danny. Try and pay where there's some way for recourse to happen. You might have to pay 2% on your credit card, but honestly, that 2% is like insurance.
Yeah, 100%. That makes so much sense.
And so anyways, so I went through all that. I hope I didn't bore you. I hope people got a chance to understand. I'm not knocking Fulfilled by Amazon business.
Yeah, it's a very real opportunity.
That's right. It did not work out well for me because I chose the wrong management company. And the question I have for any of you thinking about doing this, how can you control the management company? Yeah. How can you control the inventory, which is your cash, right? And how are you going to be able to actually validate whether the inventory they're purchasing and selling is appropriate? Because we didn't even get in the fact that what they were doing was selling damaged goods to clients, picking up the cash, and they had no intention of repaying those people. But Amazon was making them do that. That's why they kept moving warehouses. It wasn't just to save money on rent. They were doing it because Amazon couldn't charge them because they would open up a new company store, right? And this is a big problem for Amazon. I mean, Amazon may do away with Fulfilled by Amazon because of these fraudulent people.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went through all of that because Julie thought you guys might want to hear it. I put Danny through that pain again because I'm blaming Danny for 22% of it. Anyways, that being said, Danny, we still got about 10 minutes or so of the show. I really want to go. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So exactly what I went through and all my mistakes and everything that I did on the Fulfilled by Amazon business that didn't turn out well for me, that's how I feel about marketing today. In other words, us small business people, we think we know, we think we've got experience, but oh man, for some reason, we're missing one or two pieces, so we don't seem to be able to put the connection together. Help me do that. Help me put the connection together.
At some point, the great thing about marketing is it's an investment that should have a return, right? And sometimes that return, sometimes the ROI on your marketing investment is you get leads from your website. Sometimes it's you get more referrals. Sometimes it's you make the phone ring. But before you go into a marketing campaign, whether you're working with an agency like mine or doing it yourself, you got to get clear on what is the return on your investment that you're looking for. And you have a conversation. You say, all right, well, how long is it going to take for these results to show up? And if they don't, then it's not working. And you cut your losses, right? I think the mistake I see a lot of small business owners make is they jump into a marketing campaign. They think it's just going to be magic, right? The phone's going to start ringing. And when it doesn't work out, they're frustrated. And what really needs to happen is you have to have a conversation with your marketing team. What's the strategy here? What is the results? What is the time frame? Like, how do I know if this thing is succeeding? Because listen, in all fairness, it sometimes takes a while to get a marketing campaign working. The very first website you put up, the very first ad you run might work, might not, right? And so from the business owner perspective, you want to see performance indicators. Like, are we getting traffic to the website? Are we getting conversions? Are we getting phone calls? And so that's what it comes down to, is you have to be really clear on how are you measuring the success or failure of a marketing investment.
So what would be the first step you would say for somebody that's had their business operating for about a year and a half, and they have gone through all of their family and friends, and in other words, they've done the marketing that they know to do, right? Now they're ready to expand their marketing a little bit further. What should that next step be?
Yeah, well, my question for them is going to be, who are your buyers? And they're going to tell me who their buyers are. And then my follow-up question is,
do they know who their buyer is?
And if they don't, that's the first thing they got to go figure out, right? And we work with businesses, often who've been in business for a while, and one of the things I always say to them is, you go back and look at pull up your list of customers that you've worked with over the last 12 months. Circle your 5 favorites, right? And then what do those 5 have in common? And then that starts to help us.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because otherwise, Joe, what I found is people if you just ask what's your perfect client, people make up these unicorns, right? They're so patient. They got a huge budget, and it's like, okay, that sounds great, but that person doesn't exist. So the nice thing about telling someone, like, make a list of your last year of clients and then circle your top 5 is, guess what? Those are 5 real clients. Like, right. Those people exist.
And here's the 4 things that are hard to deal with.
Exactly.
And that's here's their pain points that I know I have to deal with. Every Tuesday, they're going to call me and tell me they need X, Y, Z, or whatever.
And then once you've done that, then the question is, okay, those 5 people and the other people like them, where do they spend their time? And guess what? In today's day and age of magic technology, how you find that out? You pick up the phone and you call them and you ask them, right? There's no magic here. You just ask them, hey, I've loved our business relationship. Can I have 10 minutes of your time? Maybe I'll buy you coffee or buy you lunch.
But that's intimidating.
It can be intimidating, but that's how you get the real answers, right? And so you ask them, hey, are you on Facebook? Are you on LinkedIn? Right? And you start asking these questions and you figure out where are these people spending their time. Maybe they're listening to WSIC on the radio. Maybe they still subscribe to the New York Times. Maybe they're on Facebook. But you get those answers, and then that's where you got to go advertise.
So, Danny, if somebody wanted to reach you, my friend, how could they reach you?
Spotlightbranding.com or mymarketer.com are my 2 businesses.
Mymarketer.com is a great website. Mymarketer.com. That's how you can reach Danny Decker. You're the man, buddy.
Thanks, Joe. This was awesome.
You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and this is where your business matters. We will see you next week.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W260